2, 3.
All right, coming to you from Crown Heads headquarters, aka Studio
Live.
C, live. Not really live. This is taped. Today's Friday. You'll see this Tuesday. Today we thought we'd take a little bit of a break from cigars and talk a little bit about, I don't know, what makes Crown Heads. And some people have commented about our artwork that we have up. These photographs. We've had requests from customers, FedEx drivers, UPS drivers. Can I get a copy of that? We display them in our booths. Anyway, I'm gonna let Mike talk about this particular photo, who shot the photo, give you a little backstory, and it's kind of interesting.
What a setup. So this is Clarence Gatemouth Brown, famous kind of Delta blues guy, who was photographed by our really good friend who unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, John Chiasson, who was
Rest in peace.
Yep, world famous photographer.
Very good friend of ours for, what, 10, 12 years?
Absolutely, great guy. But anyway, this particular photo, you've got to kind of look Gatemouth up just to read about him on the internet. But this photo was taken at the Slidell, Louisiana police station, the little headquarters there, for I think the Delta Blues Museum. And it's really cool when you look at it close because he's got a gun tucked in his belt, which you can hardly see. He's wearing this big sheriff's badge from Slidell, Louisiana.
That was actually the sheriff's badge, right?
That's it. Oh yeah. He's like an honorary deputy.
All right.
And they photographed it there at the headquarters. And he's smoking pot in the pipe, which is really kind of cool. And sad story about Gatemouth.
It's not cool that you smoke pot, kids.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool that they did it at the sheriff's office and he's smoking pot.
That's
There's the juxtaposition.
A bit sad story about Gatemouth is that he lived in a stilt house on Lake Pontchartrain. It was knocked down by Katrina. He was not in it. He was in Houston at the time. But when he got back and saw that the house had been knocked down and all of his memorabilia was gone, he died 3 weeks later. Basically, everybody said he died of a broken heart. It kind of wiped him out. So a bit of a sad story, but really a classic character and a cool photo. So look him up online. You can read some more about him. I'm going to talk about Johnny Cash.
Yeah. So now we're going to go over here. This obviously most of you are going to recognize as Johnny Cash, the inspiration behind not only great music but also our brand Jericho Hill. This picture that John Chiasson also shot was taken outside of his house in Hendersonville, Tennessee. John passed away in 2003.
Like blocks from where you live almost, am I right?
I was going to get to that, but here
I jumped the gun.
Couldn't keep his mouth shut.
Well, you know.
So John passed away in 2003, rest in peace. This was shot approximately about 2002. They sold this particular house, the estate sold it to Barry Gibb in 2006, and in 2007, unfortunately, it burned down in the ground. And 10 years later, my wife Laura and I and our daughter AJ live about, as Mike said, about 10 miles away from that house. So that is the portrait of Johnny Cash by John Chiasson.
I love the little stuff, the shoes.
The shoes, yeah,
Classic,
the shoe. What's the story of the shoe? The shoe is like he had like an orthopedic kind of boot right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe this chair actually is on display in the Johnny Cash Museum in downtown Nashville.
That was one of the last photographs taken before he died.
That's true. That's very true. But that face has a great story to it. Much respect for John R. Cash.
And that looks, John and I have is this a partner's desk? It sounds a little strange.
Very strange.
Just with the chicken and rice sitting on it.
That's actually salmon today. Thank you.
Johnny looks right over.
So now we're going to move into the warehouse.
You're like a spokesman,
where
walking and talking at the same time.
The magic happens. That sign, incidentally, if you can get that shot, that sign was actually handcrafted by John Chiasson as well.
So there's fingerprints all over the place, doesn't he?
There's a lot of remembrance of John here. So this brings us to our third and final portrait, also shot by John Chiasson.
John Lee Hooker. Two really interesting things about this portrait. One is the guitar, which as you can see is designed with this kind of thread of dark wood that runs through the fretboard and down through the body of the guitar. That was made by Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top fame from wood that was harvested from Muddy Waters' house. Crazy story, but it's true, and that guitar is in the Delta Blues Hall of Fame. The second part about the story that's really cool, John shot this in New York, and so he had a guitar, just one of his own guitars, set up so they could kind of block the photo, whatever they do with all that kind of stuff. And when John Lee Hooker got there, he said, "Who does that guitar belong to?" And John said, "Well, it's my guitar." And he said, "Can you play it?" And John said, "Yeah, I can play it a little bit." And he said, "Well, come on, let's play." And so they sat down and played guitar together for 30 or 45 minutes. And then Hooker signed John's guitar, which he had when he passed away. So very cool story and a great photograph.
And the tie clip?
With a J.
Yeah, what does that stand for?
Maybe John Lee Hooker.
Huh, there it is. So, that's it. There's a little quick behind the scenes peek at the portraits that surround crowned heads. See you next week. Laters.
Adios.
John?